Hello there, this is Bibi Cameron, and in this video we are going to be making these Christmas cards. They might look a little bit complex, but I guarantee you they are very easy to make. Okay, for this we are going to use Simon Says stamp Neenah 110 grams cardstock. This cardstock is smooth, is very thick, and the ink blends beautifully over it. So if you want to give your cards a touch of luxury, this cardstock is highly recommended. And because I don't want to waste it, I just trimmed a little piece to do the die cutting. Today I'm going to be using Peaceful Dove Wafer dies by Simon Says stamp, and we are going to cut all the pieces out of that white piece of cardstock. Then I'm going to place all the die cuts over a jelly plate. The jelly plate holds the die cuts in place while ink blending, and it doesn't stain. So as you see there, we are going to use a little bit of this SEAFOAM ink over the die cut, and I'm just applying a tiny amount of the ink, very light-handed, just to cover some areas of the die cut. Once we finish, we are going to use this morning ink. It's a kind of lilac but also bluish ink, and it's just to add a hint of color or darken that color a little bit. Then we are going to use Twilight, and this color will create a really nice contrast. And as you see there, I'm just adding color at the edges of the die cut. It doesn't matter if it's looking patchy. Positively saturated inks usually when dry looks very subtle and smooth and beautiful, and on this paper they look a lot more stunning. Now I'm going to use dimensionals to adhere that wing of the dove. I found that this looks quite cool, and then I'm going to adhere the other one just slightly behind that one to have a more dimensional look and feel. Now I'm going to place this on the jelly plate, and I'm going to splatter the die cut using a silver or platinum sparkling product that it hasn't been released yet, but it will be available soon. It will add incredible texture to your die cuts or any composition or backgrounds. Oh my goodness, it's so yummy. I could not help myself, and I have to use it today, and look at that. You can use any other paint. It could be silver, it could be gold, anything else to give texture to the die cuts. And then I'm going to adhere the pieces I didn't touch. They are only white, and that also add a nice and soft contrast. Now I'm adding the big and the little leaf or branch that the dove is carrying in the big, and it has such a tiny little berries. This is so cute that I have to show you this as well. So I'm going to stick this behind the beak, but before I'm going to use a Sakura gel pen to add a little dot in the eye area. There is a die that will cut the eye, but it was too small, and I say, okay, I cannot bother with that. So now I'm going to add another backing plate behind the whole thing, so they are more sturdy and I can use them in different projects. Completely influenced by the packaging, I added blue colors to these doves, and for these ones here, instead of lilac colors, I added a little bit of gray ink. Now I'm going to use a quarter of a sheet of sapphire cardstock by Altenew, and I'm going to use this new stencil that is called Stems and Leaves. It's very delicate, and I don't want to use any adhesive at the back of the stencil. So I'm using my jelly plate to hold the stencil in place. This is not going to stop the stencil from warping or from moving, so it's very important to be super gentle when applying inks. And I'm using a flat brush so that I can kind of dab the ink over the stencil, and I'm doing this very light-handed. I'm not rubbing the brush against the stencil. It's only like a dabbing motion, and if you really want a very crisp stenciled image, I therefore will recommend to use temporary spray adhesive at the back of the stencil. So I'm doing this for about 2-3 minutes, and that's good to me. Then I'm going to splatter this also using the same paint. This is a silver paint, and then I'm going to splatter this with gold paint. And I'm going to be very generous with the splattering. It's like a lot. And then you will see how something so simple can add so much life to to a simple piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the Twilight ink just to add a darken edge to this piece of cardstock. I know you have seen the edge at the bottom, that is, it doesn't have anything there. Don't worry about it, that's going to be gone, because after doing this, I'm going to use my Tim Holtz mini trimmer to cut the edges. And to create my card bases, I'm also using the same thick cardstock, and I'm using also the mini scoring tool by Simon Says Stamp that I'm absolutely loving. All we have to do here is to adhere that panel to the card base, and once we have the background, we can start building up the scene. I also die cut this sentiment. I use gold glitter cardstock by Altenew, and to mute this white piece at the back of the sentiment, I decided to add also a vellum piece behind the words so that this will finish it up. And once I have the sentiment, I know exactly where to adhere everything. So I'm sticking everything using dimensional foam pads. And when I saw the card just like that, I feel it needed something else. And I have a pile of die cut snowflakes from last year. So I decided to use them. And I have a video about this. I'm going to link it at the end of this video. And you can see how I made the paper for these snowflakes. So I basically applied acrylic paint, and then I added gold leaf, and that added that kind of nice finishing to the paper or interest. In case you are wondering, I use delicate snowflakes diced by Spellbinders. That is part of one of my latest collections for Spellbinders. There are snowflakes in any sizes, so it's worth to have a look for this Christmas. And after adding all this little texture, and you see that when you crop the snowflakes, you can create little flowers and add these kind of details to your cards. And when you are happy with the arrangement, then you can add more sparkle. And yes, there is never enough sparkle for Christmas cards. It's a sparkling celebration, don't you think so? So I'm adding here some gold gems, and that's it. That's the card. It has very simple steps as you see there, but all that texture and all that sparkle make it look like Christmas. Now we are going to make another card. The process is exactly the same. The colors of the medium and the cardstock are completely the opposite. So we are using here a white background panel and blue ink. Remember, the previous one was a blue background panel and white ink. So the process is the same. I'm applying the ink super carefully through a stencil, because any slight movement will cause the stencil to move and the ink will sip underneath, and the image is not going to be as crisp and sharp as we want to. Although if that happens, it's totally okay. We are not aiming for perfection here. We just want to create a texture. Even, I even like the brush texture through the stencil. It looks quite cool. It looks like stone. So you have to see the things in many different ways when you are creating. To even this a little bit more, I just spray a little bit of water, allow that to sit on the paper for a little bit, and then I add a sparkle. I have the bad idea to add the sparkle directly from the bottle, and I say, oh la la, there's nothing I can do there. Just keep going with the flow, it's fine. And then I also added gold splatters, exactly the same that I did for the previous card, but in this opportunity I used it through the stencil, trying to keep as much as I could of that image at the background. I'm going to allow this to dry, and I'm going to cut a piece of silver glitter cardstock by Spellbinders using the Holy Sprigs diced by Simon Says Stamp. That is stunning. Look at that. So all I have to do is to adhere the background panel to the card base and layer out the pieces in a way that makes sense. It doesn't need to make sense always though. It's card making. And please don't stick everything flat. If you see me there, I only add glue at the end of the die cuts, and at the very end I secure everything with dimensional foam pads or with glue. This allows me to play with the composition, to move things a little bit, and also to add dimension. For the sentiment, I decided to use one of these pre-printed sentiments. These are called Sentiments Strips Reverse Winter, and they are also included in this new release by Simon Says stamp. I just grabbed my mini trimmer to cut them straight as always, and then they are ready to go. And then let's use some of these foam squares to give dimension and to make everything look seamlessly. What do you think? There you go, my 2 creations for you today, and I have more. I also made these 2 tags, and I'm going to be sharing on Instagram the process of creating these tags, but you might know already. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel or visit my blog for more ideas and inspiration. There is a blog hub and giveaways for you to grab, so make sure to pay me a visit. The link is in the video description. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye!